thank you everyone for coming out today. We were waiting on a few more, so if they come in the back, we'll just try to point them to a seat, but we'll go ahead and get started because we're happy you're here. We know you're ready to get back out in Tellico Village and do some fun things. I'll say a quick thank you. Beth Kaburka, this is our Director of Marketing. She's going to be speaking to you a little bit later. We have a board member with us today as well, Marty Inkrot. He's going to be speaking to you as well. In the back, we have Amanda Parks. Many of you may have already talked to her on the phone. She works at our Welcome Center for the marketing team. And in the very back, back behind that, in that VIP seat back there, Kevin Critch, he works for our Tellico Village Broadcasting, our news station, and we're going to talk about that a little momentarily. But the reason he's back there is we do have some property owners who are Zooming from home today. So at the end of the session, everybody will have an opportunity to ask questions, and so will they at home. So we want to make sure Kevin's back there kind of keeping in contact with them. But as I said, welcome to Tellico Village, where one day it's 65 and the next day it's 28 degrees. So you'll get used to that. You just have your coat handy and you just wing it. You just go with it this time of year. We never know what to expect, but it's always beautiful in Tellico Village. So today, I forgot I have the clicker. Today what I want to talk to you about is the POA essentials. We're going to do a high-level history review for you, talk a little bit about the finances, again, at a high level, and then the governance. And a lot of the governance will be discussed by Marty, our board member, and then how we communicate. If you don't take away anything today, the main thing we want you to take away is how we communicate. And so Beth will address that momentarily. So when Tellico Village was started, there's the Tennessee Valley Authority. Many of you have heard of the TVA, of course. You're going to hear a lot of acronyms today. TVA, TRDA, and CCI. But the TVA was given this project of, okay, we're going to take the Tennessee River, we're going to back it up, we're going to build a dam, and we're going to boost the economy. We want there to be recreational projects on this lake, residential projects on this lake, and industrial projects on this lake. We at Tellico Village brag that we are the most successful entity that they ever did on the Tellico Lake. That's our little inside joke. But that project, that operation began in 1979. I was 1 year old, so I don't really remember, but it did. But TVA planned the resulting of 363 miles of shoreline to ensure the benefits, as what we said, these new jobs, the residential homes, and the recreational area. The Tellico Reservoir Development Agency, as we refer to as TRDA, they were given they purchased 11,000 acres from TVA, and they were challenged with managing this residential entities and these industrial entities and recreational entities. And many of you may have heard of TRDA from, in the early days, going out and bargaining and negotiating with industries and bringing them in. Just to our east, if you ever go to Von Orr or if you live in Kahidi, you will pass the Tellico West Industrial Park. That is where the TRDA offices are located, and many of their industrial businesses are in that park. That was one of the first very successful parks that they helped bring into this area. And then Cooper Communities, many of you may have heard that name or seen that name recently. This was the developer that developed Tellico Village. They came in, subdivided lots, put in the infrastructure, roads, water lines, sewer lines, and they actually sold to the residents in Tellico Village. In March of 1986 is when the first home site was sold. The first house and residents were moved in. They moved in 1987. So we have been here a long time. We, again, like to say we're one of the most successful opportunities and organizations that you'll find along the Tellico Lake. We will move on just a little into lake size, community size, local businesses, and POA employees. The lake size is 16,000 acres with more than 30 square miles. Tellico Village itself is a significant community in size and population. The acreage is 4,800. There are more than 6,600 owned lots. There are 4,500 homes or townhomes, give or take a little, we're actually above that right now, that are actually occupied. The population we estimate to be about 9,500 people. Businesses, there are over 100 brick and mortar plus some in-homes, and the total number of employees that we consider full-time year-round, 170. Again, that number fluctuates throughout the summer months. You'll see a lot of part-time staffing. I'll take my hat off from what I'm doing now and put on my HR hat. Any of you who are looking for part-time work when you get those boxes unpacked, we certainly welcome that as well. But we do have opportunities for property owners. If you are interested in getting back into the workforce, feel free to come to the POA office. But that number does fluctuate because we do get, golf course operations might need help in the maintenance department. Recreation may have special projects going on. A lot of property owners are who your personal trainers are that you will find once maybe you've already joined the recreation facilities, but if not, once you get in there, you'll find that a lot of those personal trainers and special classes are taught by property owners that live in Tellico Village, and they've just decided to do that. Next, we'll talk about POA, HOA, New Villagers, and Townhome Association. We represent the Property Owners Association, and what that means, the distinguishing factor is it doesn't matter if you have a home in Tellico Village or if you only own a lot in Tellico Village. You are a member of the association. So we at the POA represent each of you. The HOA was organized for the homeowners who live here now, and of course New Villagers, same thing. How many of you are already in New Villagers or HOA? So see, you're probably pretty familiar with these, but the HOA is not just the social fabric behind Tellico Village, but they also are an advocate for our homeowners. They do a lot of communication. They work with Beth. Should there be a water line, rupture, should there be a bridge construction, local elections, they work with our governmental affairs committee to get out the vote. So the HOA really are a great advocate for our homeowners. And then the New Villagers just promote friendships among the newcomers. So if you haven't gotten involved in the New Villagers, I would encourage you to do that. It's a great way to meet people, meet your neighbors. We talk to people so much now that say, oh, this was my best friend the first week I moved here. And those friendships last throughout, your time here in Tellico Village. And then the Townhome Association is, of course, an association aside from POA if you live in a townhome, and typically, they have their own monthly meetings, maybe they're quarterly, but you would pay a separate association fee to live in that townhouse area, and maybe that's for your maintenance. Typical townhouse association rules and bylaws. Many of you are very familiar with that from where you came from. How the POA works, we have a legislative body, that's our 7-member board. We have a chief executive officer, and then there's the staff. We each run underneath Winston, who's our chief executive officer. We have revenue and we have expenses. Our main source of revenue comes from assessment and your user fees. When you attend the different amenities such as recreation and golf, dock fees, RV storage, dry storage, when you use the food service facilities. And then the board elections, that's all property owners. So as I mentioned earlier, you could be a homeowner or just a lot owner, and that does not matter. You still get to vote in all the POA board elections. Most of you know we recently had a board election, and Marty may talk about that momentarily. As I mentioned, our primary source of revenue are the assessments, which that is the $10.6 million. There are golf fees of $2.5 million, utility fees of $4 million, for a total projected revenue of $21.9 million. If any of you moved here before August of this year, maybe you were able to view online or even attend some of the meetings in person, but we recently went through the 2022 5-year and then the 10-year budget meeting. So we actually have a new budget that we will be rolling out. It was just approved at the November board meeting. When we look at our expenses, the primary expenses come from the employee salaries and benefits, $7.1 million, maintenance, $3.7 million, and depreciation, $1.8 million, for a total projected expenses of $21.3 million. And I think this is where I'm going to turn it over to Marty when I get into the board members. There we are. So at this time, I'll let Marty have the floor, and I can switch slides for you when you're ready.
Thanks, Mitzi. Welcome, everybody. I guess I'm going to talk about 3 different things. 1, what attracted us to Tellico in the first place. 2, a little bit about the POA board, and and 3, some of the advisory committees that work with the board and the POA. First of all, like you, I was new, 5.5 years ago. So we had never heard of Tellico Village, and friends of ours from back in Ohio bought a place, and they invited us down here to see it, and we fell in love. The lake, the golf, and the wellness center were probably the top 3 attractions for us. We had thought about maybe getting another, like a place for the winter to snowbird down in Florida, but what really drew us here is the proximity back to Ohio, where a lot of our family is, and our kids. So once we got here, we just never looked back. I worked the first 2 years that we were down here. Then I retired full-time and started to get involved. My wife had been playing a lot of pickleball. We ended up joining New Villagers. I know Mitzi mentioned New Villagers, and I can't say enough how great of a program that is. It really helps you understand all the different things that are available here in the village. You get to meet a lot of other new people that are basically in your same boat, you know, trying to learn what's going on. And it's a great way to learn about all the different clubs, all the different local attractions, all the other things that Tellico Village has to offer. So I can't say enough about that. In fact, I used to say quite a bit about it. I was the president 2 years ago of New Villagers. So that was my first involvement locally. Then right after that, I got talked into running for the POA board, so I did that. And I've been on it now for the past 2 years. Mitzi mentioned that the board has 7 members, and so basically you have a 3-year term, so we just elected 2 new board members, and then the year I came on, there were 3. So we'll be voting for 3 next year. We have term limits, so you can serve 2 terms, so 2 3-year terms. You don't have to. In fact, one of the members of the current board is not going to rerun or did not rerun for this year, so that's up to you. But you know, the reason I did it, one was I just wanted to be involved. I wanted to really understand what's going on in this community that we live in. Plus, I also wanted to have some say into how we're spending our money. Mitzi showed you earlier, we're a $22 million business. That's a lot of money. And we want to be sure that we're spending that diligently, and that's really probably the main responsibility of the POA board. So I would say overall our responsibilities are oversight of the POA and basically looking at strategy. Where do we want to take this place in the next 5, 10 years? So we do have a long-range planning committee that we work closely with and basically try to plan out 10 years of what do we think we're going to be needing for this community. Now, that's not an easy thing to do, especially when you got to try to put some money in the budget, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years out. But we do our best because we want to continue to keep this place one of the best retirement communities in the country. That's a picture of the current board. What else do I have? I made a couple notes. I guess the bottom line to remember is the main reason for the POA board is for us to represent the residents. So if you've got anything that you're concerned about, our contact information is on the POA website, so feel free to contact us anytime. Just remember, this is not a paid position, but we're doing it because we enjoy where we live here, and we want to keep it that way. And we want to be sure that we're representing everybody as well as possible. Some of the major things that we've just done, the major thing that we've just done this past year is acquire the developer rights and some land that the original developer, Cooper, still owned. So the POA did a really good job of negotiating that with the developer and presented that to the board, and we had just approved that. We had meetings with all the residents, the ones that wanted to attend or view online, to make sure you understood what this was all about. This was a $5.2 million purchase. The biggest thing there, though, was not the land, but the developer rights. Now we have control over what gets built on those properties that the developer owned. So that was key, and we think that that was a huge accomplishment this year. Next year, one of the big things that we have to do is our CEO, Winston Blazer, is retiring. So we're going to be putting out a search and looking for a new CEO to run the POA. The last thing I want to talk about a little bit is the advisory committees. So if you're looking for ways to get involved, A is to be on the POA board. Another way is on the advisory committees. We've got about, I'm going to say 8 different advisory committees, ranging from public services, which are the roads, water, sewer, all that kind of stuff, basically the infrastructure of the village, golf, the marinas, finance committee, communications, marketing, the long-range planning committee that I mentioned before, the architecture advisory committee. So if you're building a house, all the house plans have to go through the architecture control committee to be sure that everything is up to snuff, and the drainage is huge around here. You've noticed all the hills. So we want to be sure that any new construction is not impinging neighbors, and runoff is under control and everything else. And then we also have a government affairs committee. So lots of different ways to get involved if you want to. I mean, a lot of people here come here to retire. Other people, like I'm told sometimes, I failed retirement. But I'm doing it because I enjoy it and I love where we live here and want to keep it that way. So I'll be around. If anybody has any questions for me afterwards, I'm happy to answer. I see one here. So.
The election that was just a couple weeks ago, was that for this?
Yes, the election that just completed here, a couple weeks ago in November, was for 2 new board members on the POA board. So one of the current members was term limited, so he had served 2 terms, and the other one just decided not to run again. And then, so we got 2 new ones. And that happens every year around this time. Yes, sir.
Regarding the property that we purchased, what is our plan for it?
So that's something that the POA is going to be working on. Some of it's commercial, so the village square, so we'll be looking at that, see what we need to do to spruce it up a little bit, potentially get more retail spots there. But that's part of the deal now. We're going to look at what are the best things, or what's the best way to utilize that property that we have. Some of it can be easily converted into new lots, and we just have to decide if that's what we want to do. All right, thank you.
All right, I'm going to cover some of the committees that you all might have some previous experience in that you might decide you want to volunteer for next year when that opens back up. Every single year, there's also openings on all the committees, and you just fill out an application and submit your request. And these are just some of them. Long-range planning is oversaw by our CEO, Winston Blazer. Mitzi, myself, we're all kind of involved with long-range planning. One of the things they recently performed was a survey to villagers about what your wants and needs are for 10 years plus. So they will be presenting the study from that in the first quarter. And the other thing they're going to be working on is a land use plan. So based on the survey and what people said they wanted, where could that possibly go inside Tellico Village if we chose to do that in the future? So that'll be very interesting coming up next year. Also, we have the Architectural Control Committee, known as the ACC. If you're building a house, built a house, or plan on doing any remodeling to your house, you need to know about this committee. If you want to change the color of your front door, you need a permit through ACC to do so if you're changing the color. If you're just replacing the same color you had, you're fine. If you don't know, call the ACC office and find out, because you don't want to get in trouble for not following the Blue Book, which is our Architectural Control Guide. Also, we have Finance Advisory Committee, oversaw by Kevin Ellsworth, our CFO. And then Golf Advisory Committee is Chris Sykes, who is our Director of Golf. Communications Advisory Committee is myself. Public Service Advisory is Clayton Taylor. He's our Director of Public Works. We have Recreation Committee, oversaw by our Director of Recreation, Simon Bradbury. CI, Special Projects, Food Service, Anything and Everything, Mitzi Lane, who's our COO. Marina Advisory Committee is Chad Johnson. He is one of our managers in Public Works. And then IT manager Kevin Alfont, he doesn't have a specific committee, he kind of has a subcommittee, and they kind of get together on special projects in the IT world. And then HR payroll is oversaw by Chris Carter. Now we're going to talk a little bit about communications. This is probably the most important and confusing thing that we deal with at the POA office, is what do we look at and what do we not look at? So what we do look at and do add to is the POA website. Is everybody registered on tellicovillagepoa.org? If you're not, you need to. It is different. Yeah. It is different from the marketing website that drew you here with all the information on it. This is the website that's specifically for property owners. All of our financial information is going to be on there. Every minute from every board meeting all the way back to 2005 is on there. About 2.5 years worth of all committee meetings are on there. If you want to know more about what a committee does, you'll find their charters on there. Every department has a webpage, so if you want to know anything about recreation, all their schedules, calendars, when they're open for food service, recreation, public works, when are they going to be doing lawn and leaf pickup. All that information is available on the website, and there is a lot of information on there. We're actually in the process of redoing that website to make it a little bit more user-friendly, so that'll be coming online in about a month. We're pretty excited about that. Also, does everybody receive the telegram? Comes out on Tuesdays via email in your inbox. How many of you read it? All right. That is our #1 source of news. That's our best way to communicate with you. We try to keep all POA information at the top within the first scroll. So if you don't go any further than that, it's fine. And then we start adding in all the different things that are going on inside Tellico Village just to kind of keep you updated. Today we sent you a teleflash. I hope you got it if you live in Tanassi neighborhood where you had some water outage for a little while. Tellico Village smartphone app. If you didn't know, we do have an app on Apple and Android devices. If you're a golfer, it's your fastest way to get into Chelsea. People love it, and there's a lot of information on that as well. Facebook and Twitter, if you're a golfer, follow us on Twitter. That's where they tell you where the ball placement, is that the correct term? I don't play golf. If it's cart path only, if there's fog, if there's delay, follow them on Twitter. And then on Facebook, we keep up with a lot of happenings in Tellico Village. It's just a fun place to kind of follow along. And Tellico Village Network, which is, Kevin is our station manager. If you ever thought about helping on a TV show or TV station, you should get with Kevin. They need all kinds of people, interviewers, editors, people that are behind the scenes, help run board meetings if you want to come work cameras. So if you have any interest in that, see him. That's a volunteer organization as well. You can find them on channel 193 if you have charter. They're always online. We also have our own Roku and TV app on Apple TV, so you can watch all the programming there. They do a really great job. We have a newsletter that comes out digitally and by mail. Third quarter will be getting in your mailbox soon. If you're a digital subscriber, you have already received it. And then Tellico Life, we are affiliated with Tellico Life in partnership with 6 other major organizations, and that's where you would go to sign up for lots of different clubs in one place. And then Nextdoor. We are not Nextdoor. So when you see the people are, why are you putting this on Nextdoor? The POA doesn't look at Nextdoor. That is true. Nextdoor is not affiliated with the POA at all. That is an independent third-party app that is designed to be a social app for neighbors to neighbors. It is not the best place for you to complain about anything because we don't read it. So I'm going to tell you, if you have a complaint, how you really can find us. And then on the connection, that is also not POA driven. We don't own it. We don't oversee it. We're not the editors of it. But we do partner with them to give them information to place in there. But we cannot be held responsible if they misprint anything, although we are happy to let them know when they do so. All right, how can you reach us? Telephone and email on the POA website. In the book Amanda gave you today is going to be all your helpful numbers to find the POA. Also, we have a Truth Be Told contact form. It's on the website. You can fill out a form or you can call. Those come directly to me, and I'm pretty responsive if you have a question. I try to get back with you immediately. We also have Having Your Say. If there's a topic that you feel like you just aren't being heard on, you've went through the chain of command and you just feel like you want some more FaceTime, you can request that. It's once a month through Shannon Jambon. She is the administrative assistant to Winston and Mitzi, and she will set up a meeting for you directly with our CEO, Mitzi. Normally there's a board member involved. It really depends on what your topic is. He'll bring in other managers to make sure you're heard. So that's every month. And also HelpSpot. Has anybody in here used HelpSpot yet? Nope. It's on the bottom of the POA website. You do not have to log in for that. If you have a ticketed item, something that you need done, that's the best place to do it because we keep track of it and we don't close those out until it's been serviced. It is not the place to go if your sewer alarm is going off in the middle of the night. Don't fill out a HelpSpot ticket. Call the Public Works after hours hotline because they're going to dispatch someone immediately. HelpSpot, we might be sleeping and we wouldn't get it until in the morning. So that's a little dangerous. Also, board meetings, that is the best place for you to be in the know. Everything that affects you as property owners is discussed in a board meeting. They're always open to the public. They're always streamed live. They're always recorded. Their minutes are always posted. There's really no excuse not to know what's going on if you seek it. The next meeting is going to be on December the 15th in this room at 1:30. So that's a good one to come to. That'll be our last meeting for our 2 board members who are retiring. They're actually retiring. And we'll get to introduce the new ones. Also, we have committee meetings. Those are great places to go and learn what's going on. You can always come by the Welcome Center or drop by the POA office and we'll be happy to assist you. Like I said, the next board meeting is going to be on the 15th in this room, and you can follow us live on our YouTube channel to follow along with that. And then really quick, another thing that I just want to rush through real quick. Normally the fire department needs to come, they used to come and do this part for us, but we haven't seen them in a while. What they would tell you is one of the most important things to know if you live in the Loudoun County campus is our rating, what we're rated. You need to make sure that your homeowner's insurance knows that you live specifically in Tellico Village, not just in Loudoun County, because you will save on your insurance because of our rating. With all the training and how good they keep up with their supplies, we actually have a better rating than Loudoun County. They have a 35-member volunteer team. Someone is on call all the time on the fire department. They have someone in every neighborhood. Normally, if you place a call, like yesterday, someone ran into the Welcome Center. They drove their car into the front entrance. And we called 911, and there was 25 firemen at our front door. I mean, their response is immediate. They're like there, so they're really great. Their average response time with a truck is 3 to 4 minutes, but a first responder is going to probably be at your house in less than 2 minutes. They're really, really quick. Most of their calls are EMS, a few fires, some auto accidents, boating emergencies, and they also provide mutual aid to the surrounding counties. They offer free classes if you're ever interested in getting CPR or AED certified. They host those and they're back doing those now free. They also manage and oversee all the AED and medical bags in the Tellico Village facilities to make sure that they're in working order if we were to need them. They have 2 EMS vehicles, 2 fire trucks, a rescue boat, which they've had to use. I'll show you a picture in a minute, and a rescue truck. What they don't do is they do not charge for any of their services, which is a pretty big deal. If they come and help you, you're not going to receive that $10,000 bill in the mail. It's all volunteer. They do one thing a year where they kind of raise money and they get some money from the POA and from Loudoun County. They don't transport patients. That's done by priority ambulance. They don't discuss conditions of patients. That's one thing that they would really tell you is we know you care about your neighbor and you want to know what happened to Sue, but they can't tell you because of HIPAA, so don't think they're trying to be mean to you. And they also can't diagnose injury or extent of injury or illness. This is what I was telling you about their rating, their ISO rating. So you want to make sure that you let your homeowner's insurance know that their ISO rating is a 4x4. That's really important. And that's based on, like I said, their training, equipment maintenance, their record. They're in the top 80th percentile of all fire departments within our area. So it's really good. They are a 501c3 not-for-profit. They get all their, like I said, all their funds come from residents, basically, donations. They always have done an open house the first Saturday in May, and they've kind of changed that the last 2 years because of COVID. Hopefully next year they'll get back to that. They have hot dogs and clowns and ice cream and all kinds of fun stuff out there. And another program I just want to briefly tell you about is called Stay in TV, and they offer minor home maintenance, a rides program, grocery shopping. They just added a respite care about 2 years ago. So that's mostly for an aging in place initiative. But also, you might have surgery and you can't drive for a couple of weeks and your husband decided to go golf and you need some help. That's something that you can call. There's no charge for their service. If they come and do any maintenance on their house, all they want is you to pay for the part. They do all the work for free, so it's a really great program. And then we are going to open this up for any questions that you have that we might not have answered. We do have a microphone that Mitzi will bring around, and you can ask myself, Mitzi, or Marty any question you want. And we'll be happy to answer those, but because we have Zoomers, we need to use the microphone.
Just 2 questions. One on the telegram, like the notification this morning for the water thing, is that ever going to be on a text message alert?
Yes. I don't know that level we would send out a text message.
Right.
We do have an emergency text software that we are implementing. That will probably be for major emergencies.
Okay.
We don't want people that we're going to use it just for little things. But if it was going to be a mass water outage affecting, we would.
Right.
But yeah.
Well, and like if they're going to be working on something in the next Wednesday and they got to shut it down for 3 days.
That would
or
probably
whatever.
just be in the telegram.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second question, on the help spot, what would be an example, of course, not the sewer thing going off, but what would be an example for that?
So some of the most common things we get, which this is a good one for us to review, is our street light is out at the corner of
Okay.
whatever and whatever. The important thing for you to know is that we, the POA, do not manage the streetlights. That's LUB. So we turn the work order into them, and we're at their, and they work on those when they have time and when they're in the area. So sometimes it does take them quite a while to get them done, but that would be a common thing. Another one is, say the brush has been in front of your yard for weeks, way longer than normal, and you just kind of want to know when it's scheduled to be over there. They get stuck in Tokwa this time of year for a really long time because Tokwa is one of the older neighborhoods. They have a lot of trees. So it can take them a little long on that first pass to get through Tokwa, but they will continuously do leaves. So they will get there. But that might be another one. Can you think of one, Mitzi? Something else that we get? Something's broken, a light is out on the walkway. Maybe, something on a boat dock. You have a boat dock and you see a bumper that's messed up. Anything like that. Yeah.
So I have a question. We would like to bring our boat from Chesapeake Bay. Are there any restrictions bringing a boat here from another state? And then also, how do we get on the waiting list for the boat dock, whether it's Tahiti or here?
Right. There is no restriction as far as I know about bringing a boat. I will say with the Asian carp issue, if you are bringing a boat from an area that is like that, hopefully you will clean it before you put it in the water. We don't need any of those eggs. But to get on the waiting list, you would go to the ACC office at the POA main admin and see Holly or Katie, and you put a deposit down and you fill out a request form, and then they will get you on the list.
And that is the one, where's the POA office?
It's the one that's at 112 Chota Center. It's behind Lakeside Realty.
Yep,
Yeah.
thank you.
Or Berkshire
In
Hathaway
addition,
now.
you would just need to get your boat registered with the state of Tennessee. You know that, but, yep.
There's one more over there, Mitzi.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right.
How about my mailbox? I came to the PO. I can talk about it. I came to the POA office, and you all said that the developer has to put in a request after the house has been inspected or whatever. So how long can I expect it to be before I get a mailbox?
It's typically just 2 to 3 weeks. I don't know, how long has it been? Okay.
Yeah, it's normally,
It's usually about maybe 2 to 3 weeks, but I can check. When this is over, I'll get your name and number, and I can call you. Yeah,
yeah.
I can get a status update for you.
And that's another good one for a help spot. Like if you were to put that in, we're going to assign it to that manager in that department, and then they can keep you updated. And they're not supposed to close out the ticket until the problem's solved. So then you can keep checking back and keep that conversation going in the same thread.
If we had a question about maintenance of the swimming pools, would I ask the guy that's in charge of the advisory committee for the recreation?
What do you mean? Give me an example.
For example,
Like you think something needs to be done, like a work order type thing?
Or converting the chlorine pools to salt water, something like that?
Yeah, so if you wanted to make a recommendation, you could email Simon or Larissa. They both are in recreation, and then they would bring that to the advisory committee for consideration. I know there's a lot of reasons why they do and don't do things, so they might have an answer for you. And you can attend the rec advisory committee meetings as well.
Right.
Yep.
And in that case, we have had salt water and switched back for lots of reasons, so they could give you a background on that as well. Yep.
One more Mitzi up here.
Hello? What is the what is the status with the docks being available?
That's a good, hand that back to Mitzi.
Yeah.
She oversees the docks,
Well,
so.
and currently, there's actually a two parts to that. There is a dock wait list and there is a dock move list. And currently, there's a subcommittee working on that, and there's going to be a huge update at the board meeting next Wednesday, so be prepared to watch that. But the long and the short answer is we just built 32 new slips in the Tenasseee Basin that are being filled now currently. There's in the budget for next year, more slips that will go in at Kahiti. The board is consistently looking for, what can we do? Where are some areas? Maybe even with some of this new land acquisition, there could potentially be spaces up and down the shoreline where we could add docks. We certainly know there's a need for it. In this Cooper acquisition that we're taking over, we're going to be getting some more slips, but of course they're all full, so they're all taken as well. But what we're doing currently is filling up the Tenasseee ones with the folks who are on that wait list. And then anytime we can move somebody, let's say somebody doesn't renew their lease and we have an opening, but let's say somebody lives in Kahiti, but their boat is over here. If we get an opening over there, we would consider that a hardship, and we would like to be able to move them there first, take care of that hardship. Then that leaves us with an open slip here, and we can call the folks on the wait list and try to get going. Now, sometimes, the wait list seems like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get a boat slip. But believe it or not, sometimes the people turn them down because they don't want that particular slip. They don't want to exit on that side of the boat, or maybe they want to be a little closer to their home. So the wait list does seem long, but some people actually have their boats in, dry storage down the road, and they're content with that until they get that exact slip area that they want. So there is hope for anybody that's on that list. So keep that in mind. But again, the board is consistently looking at where could we put more? How could we accommodate the people on the wait list? We know that's one of the #1 priorities for a lot of the new people moving in. You move to the lake so that you could use the lake, and we want to be able to provide that amenity for everybody. That's certainly on our radar.
I think I can speak loud now. Right along that same line, are you looking to increase the number of slips, if you will, for personal watercraft, Sea-Doos?
Okay, I'm going to repeat his question. Some people asked if the microphone works. The microphone is more or less for the folks who are at home on Zoom. That's the only way they can hear us talking. So his question was, are we going to be looking at the same type thing for PWCs, which is a personal watercraft? And yes, we would. We know that there is a need for that as well, and a want for that. I think that's a growing amenity. We got a lot of people out here using the jet skis right now, so it is certainly something they would look at and take into consideration. Yeah. There is, yes. She asked if there was a wait list. There is as well. And again, if you all call Holly, who is in our architectural control, our ACC department at the POA office, she could let you know what the waiting list looks like, where you might be. If you want to be added to that, you can certainly get yourself added to that. So, yes, in the back.
This piece of paper is very informative regarding the government requirements, but how stringent are they at 30 days? What's the ramifications of that?
What's he looking at? I'm not sure what you're looking at. Beth's going to come check it out.
Car registration and license since 30 days.
He's asked about the registration for your car, meaning like if you have a tag from Illinois and it doesn't expire for maybe 2 or 3 or 4 months, and they're saying you have 30 days to, well, I know what I would do. But yeah, I don't know. I've not heard of anybody being pulled over, here and saying, well, how long have you lived in the village? I mean, I think if it's expired, they may target you, but I think you're probably pretty safe, It's probably a suggestion, Tennessee. Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions?
Are there other questions? Well, like Beth said, the main takeaway today is you know who to call should you have a question or a concern. If you just need to be walked through something, that we understand, we get it. So certainly give us a call, before you assume something that's wrong. Just give us a call. We welcome you. Stop by our office anytime. Just like Marty said, the board meetings, it's a great way to learn. With COVID, we had to go to Zoom meetings and live meetings on the internet, but it's actually kind of enhanced what we have now, because there are times you might not want to show up here in person, but you could at least go back that evening and watch the video. So that's always, an opportunity for you to get caught up on what's going on in Tellico Village. But certainly give us a call, and we thank you for coming today. I know how cold it is out there. How many are you from above, say, Kentucky? So this probably isn't cold to you at all. Okay, well, it's cold to us. But thank you. We'll be sticking around here if you have questions after.